Let's talk about character as opposed to paragraph text. Now, there's a big difference on how we work with it. For example, when you're working on the character level, you can select a word, a letter of the alphabet, an entire paragraph, and change it. When you're working with paragraph text, basically the smallest unit you can change is an entire paragraph. Now, to help us along, I have two very famous quotes here. One is from Franklin Delano Roosevelt in his first inaugural, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." And another one from Sir Winston Churchill, "An appeaser is one who feeds a crocodile, hoping it will eat him last." I find that kind of amusing. Both men very instrumental, obviously, in helping us through World War II. Now, I am in the typography workspace. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring over the character panel. That's just so we know what we're working on. And I will bring over the layers panel. And that's why I kind of offset the text over here. It's a little bit more to the left so we can see it without it messing us up here. Okay. If we want to change text, we've got a couple of ways that we can do this. For example, if I go to this particular layer right here, and that's a type layer, and that's the appeaser is one who feeds a crocodile, hoping it will eat him last. I can now, without ever being on the type tool, change that layer, that type layer, by coming up here and manipulating what I have. For example, I can go into and change the font. Now, you're going to see different fonts up there than I have, obviously. But if you want to change the font, it's a question of just clicking, and it will be more than glad to change it for you. Let's go ahead and undo that for a second. Let's say we want to work on a character-by-character basis. Now, if we want to do that, then we can't work on the layer. We have to work in the text itself. So we pick up our type tool over here, and then we decide which one we want to work on. So say we come up to this one up here, and I can select a word or a letter. Let's do this first. I'm going to press Control-A, which is select everything. Let's choose a different font, a font that has more options to it. So I'm going to go down to Mini and Pro right here. As you can see, we now have a lot of different styles we can apply. Say, for example, let's go ahead and get out of here for a second, that we want to change Franklin D. Roosevelt into italics. We'll select it. Remember, character requires selection. We can then come over here if we want to do it this way and go in and decide that's going to be italicized. And maybe it's going to be just a little bit smaller. Now, if you've ever worked in programs like, for example, InDesign or even Microsoft Word, all of this has got to be something that you know you can do. It's very easy. Now, if we come up to the text up here, let's select all of this up here. Let's say when we come here, we don't have a bold. Some fonts don't. They don't have any styles at all, as a matter of fact. Photoshop helps us out a little bit here. We have a faux bold button here. And we have a faux italic button. You have a button here that puts all of the words in capitals if you want to. You have this one that's called small caps, that takes all the little letters and puts them into big letters but makes them smaller. You have, and let me go ahead and just select one word now. You have a superscript. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And you have a subscript, which works a lot with scientific notation. You've got a button here that allows you to basically underline, and you have one that allows me to strike through. You have a lot of different options. Now, besides that, let's go ahead and select all the text again. Up here, besides the font here, you have a button right here that changes the leading of the lines. Now, the leading is the space between each one of these. So let's select all of them. Oh, and incidentally, notice how all the stuff goes blank when I select all the text? That's a note for you. It's saying you have text selected that has different formatting options, and I can't show you both. So I'm going to let you know if you change something here, it's going to change it across the board in all the selected text. But if we go into leading, and leading basically is a term that comes from old linotype machines where they used to put sheets of lead between the lines to get more spacing. What we can do is we can change the leading. And you can see just a little bit more space between this line and this line down here because we changed the leading. Take a look at that again. I'll make it a little bit bigger. Puts more space between the two if that's something you want to do. You have options that allow you to change the kerning, the tracking. All of this is here. But if we come over here, let me go ahead and select this line again. Now, some of these options down here are not available because it depends on the type of font you're using, really. But this one right here, you have to look very carefully, but I want you to look at the THE, the right there, when I turn that on and off. That's a ligature. Now, what a ligature is when two letters come together and they get so close together they're kind of touching each other. What happens is when you click that button, it helps to solve that problem for you. So that would be one I think would be a given. And you have a couple of others here. A lot of these are grayed out because we don't have the right kind of text. This one right here is ordinals. Ordinals actually work with numbers, but watch what it does to text. I don't know why I like that, but I think that's kind of neat. In different fonts, it can go really strange on you. So if you want to have some fun, I suppose you can turn this one on. Now this one is for fractions. So if I come down here just real quick, let me come to the end of this line and type in like 1/4. And I want that to look like a fraction. If I select it and then click this button right here, basically it puts it into fractional mode. So you've got a lot of options with character, but remember the character panel is designed to help you out only if basically you're working with character text. Individual pieces requires selection. Now in the next lesson, what we'll do is we'll look at the paragraph panel and how we can control text on a bigger scale. On to the next.